Welcome back to Shift Your Shit, Kill Your Fear. My name is Mariel, and we are here to get you more free and clear. And I am so excited to introduce you all to this incredible soul that's here with us today. Buckle up, and if you are here listening to this, I just already know you're going to have a massive, massive identity shift today. I have the chills even saying that. And I'm going to have her introduce herself because I will never do justice to her. But this is Jenna, and Jenna is just an incredible soul doing some beautiful magic and bringing such light to this world. Jenna, thank you so much for being here today. And after you introduce yourself, I want to share a story about Jenna that is, in sharing it, I know is going to shift your shit. But first and foremost, I want to just welcome Jenna and have you introduce yourself to this incredible community.
Hey, yeah, thanks so much for having me, Marielle. I'm Jenna Brown, and I'm a psychic business strategist. I also am a subconscious healing expert. I work with women who are making 6, 7, 8 figures, expanding their capacity to hold more wealth, to have the life that they want, to scale their businesses in more realms than just the third dimension. I'm sure we'll get into this and what the heck I'm talking about here in a minute. I'm also a mom to 3 beautiful children, a wife of 14 years, and have 3 cute little dogs too.
So, Jenna, something that has always stood out to me with you is a story, and I'm actually going to invite you to share it. You probably will share it better than I will, but it was so monumental for me to even experience it in multiple levels, even in my own journey, but in just the collective. And it was during a time where we both were at an event together, and there was something that created a continual ripple, something that, we plant these seeds, we call it, right, in our minds. And a lot of them actually happening in childhood where we tapped more into our imagination, which is imagination, right? We create magic in our minds. And somewhere along the line, we forget that we have this beautiful imagination and we don't use it. We're not in our childlike play and wonder. And we wonder why we're not creating these things. So we're not tapping into the expansiveness of our imaginations. And so it's cool, and even those that are listening, if you think about something in your childhood that you are creating or playing with or enjoying that you actually did create into your life today, you will actually start noticing some of the things like, oh my gosh, I thought about that as a kid, or I did that as a kid, then it happened. And because there was no blockages, fears, worries, doubts that were getting in the way of you creating that reality. And Jenna had an incredible experience that happened to her at this event, which I'll have her share in a moment. And really just shows you the potent energy of, one, when you're in that childlike wonder, but 2, how we are manifesting things more than we realize. And also we have more power than we realize to create these things in our reality. And I just remember it being such a profound day. And I remember in the moment right before it happened, I had this voice saying that it would happen. And Jen, I don't know if you remember, but maybe it was my ego a little bit, but I'm like, I had to text her that it was going to happen just to prove I was like, I'm not shooting the shit here. And then it did it. It was one of the most profound moments that I got to experience, not only Jenna for you, but for the world and the people that got to witness it. So if you're willing to share about this beautiful moment that touched my life, and then tell me that touches everyone's lives here today.
Sure, I'm happy to. What you're talking about is, it's almost been 2 years ago now, where
Yes.
I had just come off of the tail end of I think it was my first $60,000 cash month. And so I had just experienced this huge breakthrough, and I was really grateful. And honestly, before this, I had a lot of stagnancy in my field. For a couple of years, I found that I was in a very successful place, but I still kept being what else is there for me? And I didn't realize subconsciously there was still a little voice in my head that was saying, if you start to hit overflow amounts of money, then you're going to end up being not generous, and you're going to be a bitch, and all of these things. And I love this story because for me, it was really proof that who I am is who I have always been. And money, and this is what I always teach about money, is money just amplifies what's already there. It doesn't actually change people. So if you see people being dicks with money, it's just because they've always been a dick. And now they just have more resources to be more of a dick. But if they've always been incredible, then they're going to be more incredible with more money. And I'm such a huge proponent that money belongs in the hands of women, specifically that for that reason, because women are naturally, just in my experience, so connected to their hearts. And for me, the story actually starts because years ago, when I was 19 years old, I dropped out of college. I moved to Australia to start to lead teams all around the world, to live in multiple different countries, but do full-time service work. So I did full-time volunteer service work. I was a full-time missionary, and I donated all of my time and all of my energy to support people all around the world. And I did this for years. It then ended up turning into me owning and running a nonprofit that I did for years. And then I had a near-death experience that turned me into what I call my for-profit era. And as I started to build this business where I was a coach and a mentor, I started to experience pretty much immediate success. And as I'm saying, then I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, 2 years ago now, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm experiencing such huge breakthroughs. This is so incredible, but why would I even want or need more money than this? Because not only do I have my needs met, my needs are like really high. Like they're not like, my needs are $5. Like I live a very cushy, bougie life. I have 3 kids. My husband's able to be home with our kids. I live in Sedona, Arizona. It's a very like pretty expensive place to live in the United States. And I'm like, what do I need beyond this? Like, what do I even want? Like, what is the goalpost that I'm looking for? Because a lot of people are looking for goalposts in a, what I would call like a survival era, where they're looking for their business to meet survival needs. But then once you have met your survival needs, you're kind of like, why do I even want more? What even is that? Because at some point in everybody's journey, depending on how much money you're making, you'll get to a point where you're like, what is even the point of more money? Like it stops having a hit for you. It stops having a meaning for you. It just becomes like, but why? Like, what is this going to cost me? Becomes more of the question. Anyways, so I had been asking those questions. And as I was sitting there, the first day of this conference that we were at, that by the way, I wasn't even going to go to, and I had a free ticket to it. And this is on, I don't know, Thursday or something, the conference was at. That Sunday before, I decided, okay, fine, I'm going to go. And I booked a hotel. And so I booked a hotel and I went to this conference. And the very first day I'm at the conference, I'm like, I wonder why I'm here. Like, I don't really feel drawn to a lot of what's happening here. But I wonder why I'm here. And the very first day we had the founder of the water company come out, where his whole entire mission is to bring clean water to everyone in the world. And I almost fell off my chair, because as I'm asking these like existential crisis questions in the background, he's coming up and he's talking about this company that actually I had worked with a company very similar when I was in Brazil on the Amazon River, where I would, every day we would wake up, we were like in these remote villages on the Amazon River. We lived on a boat because you couldn't get there by car or anything. We lived on a boat back there, and we would every single day take these little tiny boats to these little homes and villages to install clean water filters. And back when I was 20 years old, I was doing this on the Amazon River, and it was a very profound experience in my life, because at the time I had grown up being American. My biggest worry was like, oh, life is so hard because the boy I like doesn't like me. And now I'm sitting here with people who are like going to the bathroom and brushing their teeth with the same water, and don't even have the education to understand that like you can't do that without dying or getting really ill. And so I had this profound worldview change back then, where I was young, but I was also like wise enough to see and experience like this real need in the world. And also I have like a giant heart. So I was a part of installing these water filters. And I remember this one time, I was able to help install this water filter for this family who had 3 kids, and they had one little hut that they all lived in, ate in, like it was one little tiny room with 3 kids. And then she had just had a baby. The baby was only 4 days old, and she was like, oh, come in. And she was like trying to take care of us while she had a 4-day-old baby. It was just like mind blowing on so many levels. And we helped install the clean water filter system for them. And I remember them being so grateful and like crying and just like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I was so moved by this experience. And I got back on the boat, And I remember being like crying and just being like, oh my God, like this feels like so powerful that I get to be a part of this. And I remember asking like, how much does a water filter cost? And I can't remember how much it was at the time. Maybe it was a couple grand, I don't know. And then I had also spent a lot of time in Africa where I knew they had similar issues. And I was like, well, how much is a well in Africa? And I remember them saying about $10,000. And I thought to myself, that would be so cool if I could donate a well one day. And I had this little seed planted where I was like, that would be so freaking cool. Anyways, I totally forgot about all of this. It wasn't like I was sitting here thinking about this all the time, but I was back then Googling. I remember Googling, how do I solve the world's water crisis? Like I literally Googled that. I remember being like, I care about this. Like, and I remember talking to people, like I was that awkward person that was like, people are complaining about their shit in life. And I'd be like, do you understand that most of the world doesn't even have clean water? Like, shut up. And I stopped saying things like that. But as I was in this now, you know, I'm 36 years old, I think at the time, I'm sitting there and this guy comes up and he starts talking about the water crisis. And I just had this like full circle moment of realizing that like I went from like being poor, broke missionary with a backpack on my back in Africa to now being like super successful woman in America who has extra money sitting in her bank account being like, what is the purpose of my life now? And I realized I had this whole full circle kind of experience to culminate to this moment. And I don't know if you've ever had one of these, those of you guys listening, but it felt like I was like swirling in my own reality that I created. And yeah, so it just like, he started talking and I could have like given the presentation. Like, I was like, I know everything you're going to say. I like know who these people are. Like, I was like, I have held these babies. I have like wiped these babies' tears. I have fed these children in Africa. Like, I have done these things, but I like had forgotten this part of me. Cause I kind of needed to shut it off to be in my for-profit era. Like I needed to be like, you gotta master the 3D of money, girl, so that you can be more generous in the future. And so I did like really kind of go tunnel vision for a moment or for a couple of years, which was beautiful. And I'm so grateful. But it like was this whole culmination of, and now you have an opportunity to give back. So anyways, he had mentioned, you know, if you want to donate a well today, you can do that and you can donate it. It's $10,000. And I was like, holy shit, I'm going to donate a well. Like, I can't believe I'm going to do this. And so, yeah, it was like by the end of that experience, I had donated a well and, that was already crazy. And then we had the part that you're talking about, like, it was already very profound for me. I didn't really care if other people knew this story. But for me, it was like, it solved a problem I didn't know I was solving internally, which is like two parts. One, am I going to be a dick if I make more money? And two, it was, what do I do with the more money that I'm making? And so it solved both of those problems because I was like, this is exactly who I am. This is exactly who I've always been. I have proof and evidence that I still am an amazing person, no matter if I'm making $5 or $5 million. And it like really solidified it for me. I don't even think I knew I was still asking that question, but until that moment, and it really solidified it for me that I am who I am and I am who I've always been. And my position or my job might change, but like the who I am has always remained the same. The other thing too, it felt like it was solving or like answering the prayer of a younger me that had this quiet little like whimsy dream of like, wouldn't that be cool? And then I just like did it. And I was just like, that's so freaking cool that I had that thought on a boat when I was 20 and I actually did it when I was 36. Like, I just think that is so cool. And I never actually thought I would do that. I never thought that'd be something that I actually would do. So that was really cool. And then involving my kids in that experience too was amazing, because they weren't there, but I got to like share that experience with them and explain to them all of these things. And that feels really powerful to me as someone who like even struggled to have kids because I was, I didn't struggle having them. I struggled in the mindset of like, how do I bring kids into this world? How do I want to raise them? All of those things. So yeah, and then anyways, I ended up sharing about that. Like they had us do, I never do these like testimonial things where they like do a testimonial. And I wanted to share that because I was like, that was why I was here. Like that literally was why I was here. And I wrote this whole long thing about like I've held these babies, like I've seen these tears, I've heard these mothers' cries, and like I get to answer this prayer. And I was asking the question, why should I have more money? And I was answering the call of a younger me with a huge heart. And now I know exactly why I should and will have more money, which is wild because also since 2 years ago, I've made millions of dollars. So that's really cool. Anyways, and so that all like, now that I'm thinking back to that, awesome. And I shared that and I had no clue it was like a competition. And I was just sitting there and all of a sudden they're like, we're going to give away awards. And then they were like, and the award also right before that, I was like, I keep having this thought of why am I not up on stage? Like I kept being like, I should be up on stage. I don't know why I'm thinking that. And then I'm sitting there and they're like, oh, here's these awards. And I was not even really paying attention. And Marielle had texted me and was like, you're going to win this award. And then it's like, all of a sudden I'm hearing my words that I wrote down being read out loud. And I was like, what is going on? And then they're like, Jenna Brown, come up on stage. And so then everyone's standing and giving me like a standing ovation as I'm going up on stage to receive this award. And I just was like, what reality do I live in? So anyway, so then I received the award. But yeah, so that's the story.
Yeah, it was just an incredible, and those that are listening, why people, why do we listen to people's stories and what effect do they have? And it's really the possibilities that I always say, you're living in the basement of your mind when you could be living in the mansion of your mind. And we don't even think about, again, the idea, I love that idea of like, well, what would I even do with more money? And it's going, there's always going to be opportunity. And maybe again, it's that younger you, those little seeds you plant that you forgot about that you get to go and do. And that's why I love that story, Jenna. And just again, I remember it. I remember it so vividly, like it was yesterday at the real time when you're telling me, like, oh my gosh, like you just connected the dots of like, I'm taking water bit by bit and like doing the best I can with what I've got with my hands, but like what money can do to make this actually solve a whole community problem versus a one home or a one family problem. And I think, again, if you're here listening, and even if you're triggered by it, like, well, good for her, or like, oh, that could never happen for me, or I love when that stuff comes up for people, because like that's showing you what your subconscious is telling you about it and what narratives are you're creating your reality with. And so, when you can catch your own is such a beautiful gift, because you get to challenge and question them and shift them if you choose to, because that's what's running your reality, is what you're believing about your own identity. And I love what you share about like we are who we are. And I think, we're now with this new paradigm shift that we're approaching, we're becoming closer to really appreciating that younger version of us that were in more of their light. Because again, you had more connection to consciousness when you were planting those seeds then than you do now, with all the conditions and programmings that are getting in the way, the noise of things that you want to bring into your reality. And what I find, again, and I believe everything, there's no such thing as coincidence, even that me and Jenna are here today sharing this with you, and that when you're hearing it exactly the day and moment you're supposed to hear it, either if it triggers you in the best of way, worst of way, it's all good, it's all happening for you. But, everything is so timely. And when we can surrender and release to that time frame. Because imagine if Jenna was like that, had remembered that thing, and every day is like, why can't I buy a well today? And why can't I buy a well today? Why, and focusing on that versus just releasing it, trusting it, and knowing that eventually it's all going to make sense and occur. That's our surrender. That's our releasing the control, and then being just again like who we really be each and every day. And so it's so funny the timing of this, because just as we can't see the big picture ever. But today I was like, wear this blue shirt, and I didn't know why. I haven't worn it in a while. And then I realized that something I wanted to share with the community today that I have not spoken of before. So this is like vulnerable for me to share this moment of exactly a year ago yesterday. I wore this shirt, which is not profound or anything, but I was I was called to doing jury duty, which I had never been before. So I was like, this is fun. And I remember having an ego thing of just like, but then going, I am so blessed that I live a life where like I can make the time to, to do this and not have to figure out, childcare and what, and having children, all different things that so many had to figure out along the way. And the funny, profound thing about that was that it was also the first day of school. And I was a school teacher for many years. And again, it was also a year where I couldn't imagine if I had my first day of school, had to go to jury duty, like get a sub for my first day, with these kids. And it was such a weird thing of the timing of it all, that of course it was the first day of a school year that I was going to this jury duty. And long story short, I remember sitting there and kind of doing what you had said. It's like you just get into this weird energy of, I remember having this vision that I'm going to be in my car and not be called, because, it's a very, you got to be very patient. And also if you get your number called, then you go in and all these different things. And then you're selected. It could be for a week. It could be for multiple. You just never know, right? The unknown. I remember sitting there and going, I'm going to be in my car driving away with a little victory dance at 2 p.m. And I just saw it. And again, long story short, I was in my car at exactly 2 p.m. driving away. And it was just, and I share this because, Jenna's, of course, took many years and again, beautiful journey of that. But also these things that we plant can happen in moments, can happen in a single day. And we just get to tap into a potential that we are creators. We're connected to creator, what we're all creating, and we can use our minds in such powerful ways. And it was one of those days, along with many others, that solidify the incredible life that we get to live internally first, and then create. And, again, so many other things, but I remember it being so bizarre that I kept it close and shared it with people that I knew, would get it. But, I so thank you, Jenna, for sharing that. And, I just, again, showing people what's possible. And like I said, if it triggers you and the good for you and whatever, noticing that. And we all are one in this. We all have the potential to create this. Me and Jenna are not special in being able to do that. I think people are like, oh, that you're a special chosen one. We can all tap into that potential and create the realities that we desire. And knowing that your subconscious mind, which I know me and Jenna are very much about getting you more clear and free, because that's where you can see this magic happening even in, every day, seeing these. I say miracles happen 24/7. It's just, are we available for it? And, and like with Jenna, getting the call of like, I don't know if I want to go to this event. And then in the moment going, I'm going to go anyway. And not even knowing, it wasn't even related to the event of what occurred. We have no idea the magic that is here and that is available to us. So I thank you so much, Jenna, for your love and light in the world, and for inspiring us that, it is possible to create that. And even our stories around money, I always love asking the question, money is, and then seeing what shows up for you. That could be a subconscious thing, right? Or Jenna's story that she shared means this to me right now. Like, just notice your fun little mind. It's so cute, that creates even just those narratives that you can work on shifting so that you can feel more free and clear and bring more money, light into the world, and more of you. That's what the world wants. We are all here exactly at this time in life for a reason. Like literally your birth date, like right when you came. And so it's fascinating to know that as we're going in this big shift, Jenna, you were absolutely here to be one to help guide people into this massive shift time. So I thank you for that. And I'd love to hear any final thing that's coming through you to share that you believe would be activating for people that are listening and making the time for today, that you would intend for them or have them start questioning, or even something that they can try on to bring more abundance in any way into their life today.
I love that. I think going in the thread of what I shared, which by the way is not like something I even really talk about a lot, so I like that I shared it, and what it's just bringing up for me to remind everyone of is like, I think that our minds really try to make sense of life through a lens of time, but our soul is not actually living in time. It lives outside of the dimension of time. And so it's why it has created so much trust in my body to know that. And I think that when I look back at that situation, what's wild is like, it was like answering a quiet little dream of a 20-year-old me. And it was like I had the dream the day before. Like, it was not like, it was like, I've been holding on to this forever. And it was exactly what you were saying of like this element of, I'm not clenching onto this with my whole fist. I didn't even think it was like real. Like, I wasn't actually like, this is my intention and I put it on my vision board. It just was like That was just a thought I had. And how the quantum realm works is like every really thought or reality you've thought of, whether it's negative or positive, exists within the field. And there is no like one right path or one wrong path. They're all just paths. They're all just possibilities. And really, like every choice you're making is just bringing you into a different path, but they're all correct. And I feel like I'm speaking in like hypnosis terms, but like what I mean by that is your soul doesn't have this agenda that your ego is obsessed with. Your soul, though, does love this energy of like surprise and this energy of magic and the energy of like reminding you of how capable you actually are. I feel like in that experience that I'm sharing about and what it could potentially help people with is that every dream or thought that you've ever had, that possibility does exist in the field, whether you want it and decide you don't want it anymore. It all exists. But the reality is I couldn't donate a $10,000 well with no money. So I had to become a person who could handle, make, and manage wealth in order to do that. I always was generous. You know, like that's not like that was my first act of generosity. I've always been extremely generous. I'm still extremely generous. It's not like that was my first or last act. But it's like, when you have these dreams or ideas, if you're like, I want to have $1 million company, then you have to become the version of you that lives in that possibility. Like that possibility does exist in the field, but you have to learn how to run $1 million company and have $1 million offers and sell like a multi-million-dollar seller, or create a company that actually creates that type of revenue and hire the people that need to be there in order to have that, all of those type of things. So they all exist. Any little dream or drop in the bucket that you have thought or desired, they all exist, but they're all just kind of waiting in this field of possibility for you to become the version of yourself and take the actions that actually allow it to exist and then happen in a second.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible. Incredible. Let's end here with some Jenna, if you're open to it, some like fire questions to help. I'm always about here, I mean, if people have listened for a while, it's to activate you and to shift you in real time, not just to listen in and go, yeah, cool, like, you know, and I don't, this is not just more fluff clutter for your mind. So Jenna, if you are willing to share, you know, what is one, you know, so many people have money blocks. We call this money blocks or humanness, right? Or, you know, these money belief things. What's one action thing you can do for the deeper mind and your physical reality that you know, the top thing you would say, do this thing and watch how something shifts with all that you have learned and witnessed in your own journey? What would you say would be like the thing right now for people to hear?
The thing, the action to take to, wait, sorry, explain that one more time. The action
Yeah,
to
the
take for
action
what?
to seeing more money, more wealth, to being that identity of you that has more of that. What we can do in the mind, body, physical that you would recommend. Like if anything you're gonna do this right now. Whatever comes through to you to share.
I think, well, you first started and said ask a question. And I think the question that I always have people ask is like, what if you're not blocked? I'm always just like, I don't assume people are blocked. I don't actually really believe people are blocked ever. I think that we create an illusion that we're blocked because everything that we want is possible and here right now. Like I said, we don't live in time. So we just pretend like we live in an illusion of time. So my question that I would ask that then will potentially inspire an action is, what if you aren't blocked? What would you do right now? Because a lot of people, I don't know who's listening and who necessarily you're always working with, but like a lot of people in my world come in assuming they have 85 million hurdles and like different versions of them they have to like access, and they have to do their vision board and they have to do tapping and they have to do subconscious healing. And like most of subconscious healing in my world is just getting you to stop trying to heal and fix yourself to get the thing that you want. Because at the end of the day, like I shared in my story, I was actually just the same version of myself, but I had more money. Like I didn't actually change the heart of who I was. Like that always remained. And I just got to a place where I believed I didn't have to keep trying to fix myself in order to get the thing that I wanted. So the question that hopefully will inspire an action is, if you didn't have to fix yourself, if you were not actually blocked, if all of that is bullshit, what would you be doing right now?
And Jenna, again, it is so funny because not too long ago, I remember being on a hike at night, and I remember thinking about, why am I blocked in, or what is the block in this? And I remember hearing, what if there's no block? It's you thinking that there's a block. And I remember thinking that, and then I saw a shift even the next day happen. And I was like, wow, that's so, thank you for one, reawakening that occurred, but two, just the possibility of that, because yes, a lot of people, again, we're inundated with all the noise of, think about products today, right? It's always like, because you're lacking this, you're lacking that, or like the self-help book and listening to all the different things. And it's like, right, what things would you be doing without all of that, and stepping into that version of you, because if you're still in the self-help and you're still watching things that are in self-help, and I always say, if you're going to the AA meetings, and I'm not saying any offense to them, but, if your identity, like, I need that, and, like, I go to that every week, that's feeding the identity of, I am someone that needs that. I am that, right? Versus, like, if you were done with that, how would you be going to the meeting still just for fun? It's really these things that we get to. Again, the expansion of our life is the questions we ask. And so I love that question, Dana, that you're leaving us with, is that, what do we do with that? And if you can share a little bit more about, when you realized that in that moment, what did you know? Because you said, like, I was still me, but then things shifted. So what did the identity of you start looking like then when you released that I'm blocked at all? What started happening?
I think I just stopped trying to think I was going to feel different. Every up level I've ever had in my life has been me realizing that I still am going to have raging ADHD. I'm still going to have insecurities. I'm still going to feel like I'm a failure from time to time. I still am going to have mad imposter syndrome. I'm still going to leave a group of people and feel like a literal alien. And I'm still going to have all of those feelings, and I don't actually need to fix them in order to get what I want. And the reason why I have evidence and proof of this, and this is what I told myself at the time, which works great, is I was like, there are a lot of dickheads in the world who've done zero personal development and healed literally nothing in their life or their subconscious and are making multi-millions of dollars. So if they can do that and still be raging dickheads, and I'm actually a really great person, why can't I have millions of dollars and like let myself have it right now? And then I realized that the concept of making money is not actually tied to how good you are as a person. How good we are as a person, that obsession is for the good girls who are still trying to fix themselves from childhood because they were unconsciously trying to fix their parents. And instead of we don't understand when we're kids that we can't fix our parents. So we think, oh, I must be broken, and so I have to fix myself. And then we just go on these huge ass long healing journeys of our adulthood trying to fix ourselves in order to get what we want. When the reality is you could just get what you want right now and not fix yourself. And that honestly will probably fix you. Like, that's the weird thing, is like, then it'll just like solve your problems. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just been a continual reminder for me of like, that's just a bonus. Like, me getting to continue to evolve as a person and like clean stuff up and make it feel cleaner and all of that, that's just a bonus energy. It's really like the intention that you go into it for. Like, if you're going into a business to try to fix something about you, your business is never going to work. If you're going into trying to make more money so you can feel something because you are feeling blah, blah, blah inside, all it will ever do is just amplify that you have to fix that, like that you have to realize that that is why you're doing it. And then ultimately, if you can disconnect it, like, I'm just going to make a shit ton of money and I'm also going to do this over here, but I don't have to do this in order to make a shit ton of money. What I actually have to do to make a shit ton of money is get really good at sales and marketing and messaging and creating an offer and having a magnetic brand and being consistent, and all of those things I could do. And also then I could do the work on myself if I wanted to or if I didn't want to, which I did. But it wasn't like I have to do this before I get to have the result. you know? But the cool thing is I have had many results and I still am like constantly like, wow, I'm just still the same person. Like, I think that's so funny. Like, I literally get to go speak on big stages, or like I get to support people who are making millions of dollars every single year. And I'm like, I still still am me. Like, I still just, it's just funny. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, incredible, incredible. Yeah, there's so many things here. We could dive into like a 10-hour conversation with all this. But again, thank you so much for sharing all this and sharing what's possible when we release that. Because yes, the question, about if you weren't here to fix yourself or solve anything, or, what would you do? And again, there's a reason it's called creator, or whatever you call God, consciousness creator, something bigger than you. But again, we are connected to that. So we are creators. And so, when you think about, if you were to put on the shelf the fixing myself, solving this, whatever, and actually go and create, and whatever that is to you, the childhood dream of yours, whatever it brings you joy and light in this moment, again, what would you do with that energy instead of fixing yourself to go, do whatever that is that lights you up without judgment of the self or what other people think, just to go. And, Jenna, you're such a light in showing us that possibility, that potential, because you're right. Everything we're creating narratives about that, there are people, even too, like I have to work hard to create wealth. You can find someone not working hard creating wealth. But yeah, I have to be a good person in order to create wealth. You can find, like you said, someone that's not. And so we can combat any of this stuff because you, back to the basic, you are creating the reality first in your mind. And what Jenna did so beautifully through her journey is got those plant seed in her mind, made the declarations in her mind, and then is and continues to create this reality. And again, being still who she be, right? We are who we be. And the more you can tap into who you are before the world told you who to be, which is one of my favorite things to say, who would you be before the world told you who to be? That is what we're here to be. Is all the bees being thrown out to everyone. So go be you, and let this continue to awaken and activate you to shift your shit in real time and to go out and create whatever that means to you. I am so excited for you to see whatever comes through with you from this. And Jenna, thank you so much for your time, for your heart, for your love. And I know Jenna is so humble, and even too, she didn't even share, but she didn't even know that it was a contest. She just was writing in about what her experience was. And she even told me that, if I knew it was a contest and I'd be called on stage and made a big ahoo, I wouldn't have even done it. And I'm like, well, universe didn't want you to know that so that you would still do it. And so all of that to say, go be who you are, regardless of the outcomes. Just do it for the pure joy and light of doing the thing that lights you up. And with that, thank you again all for being here. And as a reminder, you got this. And we're saying this is so much love and light and momentum for you in your life to go after those things that you desire, and that you are not something to be fixed or solved or changed, that you are perfect the way you are, whole and complete. And go be your light. Go shine bright. Thanks again, Jenna. So appreciate you. And we'll see you all next time.